Everybody, my name is Melanie Dizon. I'm the Director of Education and Research at the Davis Phinney Foundation. And we are here today for our very first ever Poetry as Medicine Cafe with our poet Wayne Gilbert as our teacher and host. And the co-host is Connie Carpenter Phinney. We're super excited to be here. We've never done this before. These poets have been working really hard over the last 6 months or so with Wayne and doing some really, really interesting things. So Wayne, I would like to throw it over to you. Wayne Gilbert is a poet. He's been a longtime friend of the foundation and volunteered to work with this group during COVID. And it's turned out to be, we were like, oh, we'll just do it 1 or 2 days. And it ended up being like, when's our next one? When's our next one? When's our next one? So it's been a really nice experience for everybody. And Connie has joined and she's going to be co-hosting with him tonight. So I'm going to turn it over to you two.
All right. Thank you, Melanie, so much. We're really happy to be here. Thanks to the audience out there for showing up to hear these poems. I promise you will enjoy them, every single one. We're going to do 3 rounds, 2 rounds of poems. And so each poet will share 1 poem. We'll go through the entire group, and then we'll start one more time. And then we'll have some brief comments at the end, and perhaps we'll have an opportunity to answer a question or 2 from the chat. We'll see how it goes. My name is Wayne Gilbert, and I am just delighted beyond words from here to be here. I'm in Denver, Colorado, and I want to introduce my co-host this evening, who I'm sure most of you know already. Connie Carpenter Phinney has been a part of this poetry group from the beginning. And of course, she's closely associated with the foundation, which is probably the understatement of the year. So Connie and I will co-host this event this evening. Welcome, Connie.
Thank you, Wayne. Hey, I just want to head up the show here with just thanking you, Wayne, for making this happen and for keeping us all motivated and so inspired. Your poetry has inspired all of us, and I think that's why we all show up monthly and can't get enough. We'd probably show up weekly if you'd have us. So anyway, I just wanted to say thank you so much. You're really an inspiration, and this isn't your first cafe reading, I know that, but it is for the rest of us. So we're happy to be here.
I'm really glad to be here, and I'm glad everybody's here too. So welcome again. I'm going to open with a very short poem, and then I will introduce our first poet of our first Zoom Cafe poetry readings. This is called A Poem a Day. I always say, some days I've got Parkinson's, some days it's got me. Either way, every day I make a poem makes me jazz. Our word jam brew, our medicine, man. Take it how it comes, play it back, how blue it sounds, straight up, all the way, regardless. We call this metaphor medicine. The first poet this evening is Amy Carlson. She's in Monrovia, California. She is fearlessly creative and has a dance online on Zoom every morning at 8:30 a.m. California time, that is. Amy says dance every day until we're free. Here's Amy.
There's the mute button. Okay. Hi, everybody. I'm Amy Carlson. I'm from Monrovia, California. And if you've ever been on Amy Says Dance, you know what I'm going to say next. My favorite pie is cherry. Okay, we'll just get that out of the way right off the bat. Okay. My first poem is titled Sunrise. It is sunrise, and I am in Kauai. The roosters are in full crow. My left leg bounces in a time Only it knows. And I am writing again. The trick of the meds? I don't know. But my fingers are allowed to type even if the laptop is bouncing madly. I dreamt of work again last night. This is becoming a regular thing. People I used to work with appear in my dreams, and I am introducing them, and their names come slow. They always wait in the dream, politely, for their name to come to me, and the name always comes, but not before their face. Slowly, but surely shows pity. In the dream, I witnessed their conversations at their dinner tables later with their wives. She looks good. She really does. But it was so awful. She had trouble remembering my name. And so it goes. I could argue with that dream, and I do every morning. There is so much to this journey that is positive, enlightening, and beautiful, and yet the dreams persist. There is an urgency in their constant appearance. They are the last dream of the night. They usher in the day. It is sunrise and I'm in Kauai. The roosters still crow and the sky has gone to full light. You can't capture this sort of beauty in any sort of medium. As artists, we all fall well short of God. I hear the neighborhood around me rumble to life. Cars drive by, trucks shift gears, engines start. There are no words, just mechanical sounds that tell us that people are at work. Whether they see the sunrise or not, it is there, and I have noticed, marked its existence, and filed it into my imperfect memory. My art lately is filled with holes, gaps, repeats, and refrains. It echoes my experience of the world, imperfect, ephemeral, shifting, pained, interrupted, as if a strobe light is on constant slow flicker, and I am only alive when the light is on. But like all metaphors, this is a flawed description and only captures a hint of the experience. Thank you.
Amy, thank you for kicking us off with that beautiful poem. That was lovely. Up next, I have the great pleasure to introduce you all to Wendy Miller from Bellingham, Washington. I've never been to Bellingham, so one day I'm going to come visit you there when this is all said and done. She's a beautiful human and a beautiful poet and has done just wonderful work as an ambassador with the Davis Phinney Foundation. As many of you, she came to her diagnosis with a lot of trial. And I think that we can all share that experience with you, Wendy, and look forward to having you up next.
Thank you for that wonderful, wonderful introduction. I hope my little poem can live up to it. The name of my poem is Seconds. My routine gets broken every day. Is destruction of routine the best way to discover its real meaning, especially when the days, the hours, the minutes, even the seconds never go as planned, never go as planned.
Thank you, Wendy. Thank you so much. Next, our next poet is Carol Klepne, no stranger to writing at all. But poetry, I think, is a relatively new form for her. She's in Hermiston, Oregon, and is always down for an adventure. Here's Carol.
This poem is called Epiphany 1.0, January 6th, 2021. She admired the yellow flowers, bright against the dark green of the seagrass that grew in the dunes. She felt the rain stinging her face, driven by the harsh sea wind. She smelled the salt from the sea, and the decomposing kelp washed ashore with the tide. The movement of the sea foam, driven by the sneaker waves, startled her. She yelled a warning for those who didn't see. She had arrived, and the flowers and the sea air and the wind welcomed her. At the same time, the roar of the waves admonished her. Where have you been? The rocky cliffs added in. We have been in here, waiting for you for years, for centuries. She walked to the point, alone, and was baptized in a spray of whiteness. Her commitment confirmed by a slap of the wind that tore at her hood to expose her face. Her vows to fully live this new life made as she danced with the wailing wind, to the roar of the water, to the crashing of the waves creating danger on the rocks below. This sacred space and its holy sacraments, this ancient place, torn from her beauty and her grace, became her epiphany, her new life, and she was home at last. Thank you.
Oh, that was beautiful. That really took me somewhere. Thank you. Love it. I'm going to introduce next a lady you can get to know a little better on our website. We just have a new interview up with her, which is extremely motivational and great to see. Karen Frank comes to us from St. Louis. She has, like Davis, early onset Parkinson's. She's an ambassador with us, of course, and her specialty is really in the area of helping people with substance abuse. She's here tonight to share with us. Thank you, Karen.
Thank you for the kind introduction, Connie, and the chance to be an ambassador. I love it. So my first poem is Presence. Skin surrounds me, containing this physical body, while thoughts, feelings, intention transcend physical barrier. The ether surrounds essence, soul, conscience, and consciousness, ebb and flow, tidal, tribal, pounding drums, heartbeat tapping, omnipresent, closest to God. Presence encapsulates a larger stage, contains the vapor, uncontainable, like herding cats. Presence gathers all, encapsulates totality, deconstructs complexity. Opposites attract, my heart and mind magnets, polarity reversed. Presence turns the magnet round, yin to yang, plus to minus. Presence, all and none, one chalice embodies all. Drink from that cup, for I am living water. Swallow, Holy Spirit, falling into an abyss of calmness where everything truly lives. Vibrant molecular stillness.
Vibrant molecular stillness. Thank you, Karen. Wow. Wonderful. Well, our next poet, Joe Vancouverden, makes this an international group because Joe is in Ontario, Peterborough, Ontario, which is actually in Canada. I just wanted to make sure that everyone knew that geography isn't a real strong subject in American education. So I wanted to be sure everyone understood that. Joe is into fitness and food and staying connected. And I think you'll enjoy his work very much. Joe?
Thank you, Wayne. I'm going to be doing two shorter poems. The first one is No Matter What, which is our tagline for Parkinson Canada. No matter what. I try to make the most of today, no matter what, as it just might be the best of the rest of my days to come. As my resources continue to dwindle and my senses progressively fade, no matter what I feel like I made today, I am less than before. With the daily struggle to stay the same and little chance to ever be more, no matter what I do to endure, I'll always be me. But of me you may see less or more as I push back against the unyielding tide. No matter what I do, my nemesis tries to close the door. Second poem is called Why. It's not really about Parkinson's, but it's about just life. Why? Why would I take you anywhere, especially there? To my private place, where I go when I dare, so not to stay here with you. Even when you were here, you were not with me. We would drive to the country, going from here to there, without a word between us. I could see your lips moving as if to be speaking to me. But you were sharing a story, not from here and not with me there. So go there again, but on your own. Leave me here, so I can go there, but on my own. And I will keep my place to myself as you kept me out of your there. Thank you.
Woo-wee. I remember when you said that the first time in class. Both of those were great, but I love that second one. Just really, woo, why would I go anywhere with you? Yeah. Listen, our next ambassador unfortunately came up against a conflict this evening, but we didn't want to miss her. So, and her conflict was accepted by us because she is a former professional pianist and still volunteers a lot of her time playing, and especially for her church. And they're having an Ash Wednesday event tonight. Because I guess it is Ash Wednesday, so we couldn't ask her to move that to another day. So I'm speaking about Jan Grimes. She's just a wonderful woman who shares one of our great, all of us share this great core value of the Davis Phinney Foundation to connect the community, but that's really a big part of Jan. And so I wanna introduce Jan from Baton Rouge via video.
I am gonna find it.
Yeah, Jan Grimes.
Means dusk has settled, meds wane. Time has come to put the day to bed. Planned relaxation, wrapped in a shower and fresh jams. Teeth are cleaned for tomorrow's noshes. One last chore, measuring out the morn's magic pills. Making sure the water is filled, phone charged. One last shot at today's crossword. One more Netflix episode. Say goodbye to today with gratitude. Pray for courage for the morrow.
Wow, that was great. I'm glad she did that for us, right, Wayne?
I'm really glad she did that for us too. It's almost like she's here in the same way that it's like we're here all together.
Right?
And indeed, Indeed, we are in some very important ways. We make these little boxes come alive. Well, the poet who will close round one of our cafe reading this evening is Joe O'Connor, or as we sometimes know him, just Joe, which doesn't mean merely Joe, it just means Joe. Joe is in Sterling, Massachusetts. He's a support group leader, and he has an amazing capacity to sort of link humor and pathos together. So it's my pleasure to introduce to you all Joe O'Connor.
Thank you, Wayne. The title of the poem is called Last. Standing in the dark, shuffling in the paddock, off we go, round the corner. Feel there, but not there, over the river into Kentucky. Each stride brings me closer to the last. Did I know it? Of course not. They all pass me. I just can't keep up. I am drawing back, like a sinkhole is drawing me back. I am being pulled out. Anyway, back over the bridge, and now the hills. Each hill seems to pull me back, not gravity, but backing out. Each climb pulls a little of me out. Each downhill shows my leg weakness. I am completely last so many times. I don't know why. Not then. And then there is the broom bus and the arguing and falling. Too slow, too slow. The people are long gone. Finally the line. No tape, just a line, and over to the med tent. This isn't me anymore. This is no accomplishment. Why can't I run? I am pulled out of the group, pulled back to watch. That was it. That was the last.
Whew. Thank you very much, Joe. Thank you for sharing that poem. Before we start round two, I want to make an observation that I hope you're making to some degree at least, and that is that poetry is about metaphors. So for us poets, this kind of writing is about finding metaphors that allow us to explore and examine and express our own experiences with Parkinson's disease, whether we're the person with Parkinson's or the care partner of a person with Parkinson's. And the kinds of metaphors we explore and examine and express will really determine how it is we make meaning from these experiences. None of us is making any profound declaration of some absolute truth about all experience, because as we all know, if you've met one person with Parkinson's, you've met one person with Parkinson's. We're all incredibly, incredibly different. And yet we share something extraordinarily special too. So being in a community like this enables us to explore our own individual experience, but also to share in the exploration of others, and to find the ways that we connect and we can support each other. So it's not about being positive or negative, optimistic or pessimistic. It's about being honest and real and open and vulnerable.
Hey, Wayne.
Mm-hmm.
Can I also just say it's about showing up? And so one thing that everybody's done tonight is show up. And we have a lot of new people that have also just recently signed in to watch and said, I want to remind them too that this is a Parkinson's poetry group led by our great champion, Wayne Gilbert, who's our teacher. He's a poet. He has Parkinson's and is just a gifted teacher. So we've been really lucky to spend some time with him over these last several months, and we continue to do so. It's a monthly meetup. This is our first cafe, certainly not Wayne's. And we have gone through one round of poetry. We're going to do another. And everyone showed up, and everyone that's listening, thank you for showing up too, because this is about human connection. So maybe before we start round two, we can also just give each other all a big hug. Because I think that's what we miss so much right now, right? Is just this connection. But if we think about it, we can feel it. I can feel it. I can especially feel Amy's hug. Anyway, here we go. Thank you.
All right. I'm going to open round two with another short poem of my own. And this is a metaphor that is especially important and meaningful to me personally. Some days are a challenge. This little boat leaks and creaks and rattles. The river is not deep, but it's often wild. We bump, collide, wobble, and spin. I wield this one broken paddle. Guide us toward the sandy bank where we will rest a while and then. Thank you. All right. First up in round two, welcome back, Amy Carlson from Monrovia, California. Take it away, Amy.
All right, first I got to take off my hat and I got to make a few comments about this poem. So normally I show this poem as a film, but I'm going to try to do it live. This is a dancing poem, not really a just spoken word poem. I wrote this poem, it's summer camp, and it was this summer, right? And it's Zoom Central, and all my artist friends are off for school for the summer. So we decided to have summer camp. And I wrote this with a wonderful poet named Jillian Kessler. Wayne's a great poet too, but I wanted to share this one because it's actually a different style and it's very dance focused. And my wonderful dancers at ASD helped me re-choreograph it this week so I could share it here. So here we go. It's called Pigtails Return. Pigtails return. Experience, don't leave. Not free, much wise. She. Before the balloon broke, before I cut my hair, before Arnie Engelbretson, before MTV, before The Bear, before the Muppet movie, before the heart attack. Saxony Lane. Apples and sugar and butter in neat slices. Black leather flats on an escalator step. A mocha in a paper cup. The monster at the end of this book. I am.
Man, if I could just say that there is one person who never takes the easy road, that's you, Amy. I needed closed caption on that though to keep up with you. Oh my goodness, that was really fun. Thank you for exploring your art and sharing it with us. That is so powerful. It's amazing. Thank you. Really, that's really fun. You just never know what you're going to get with Amy. I'm just going to say that straight up. All right, we're into round 2. And Wendy, we're back to you. Are you ready with another one?
I'm ready with another one.
All right, I can't wait. We've got Wendy from Bellingham, Washington.
So the title of this poem is Dissociation. And just for the record, it's a true story. Dissociation. Among weird experiences is dissociation. Not the kind that cuts the reality cord, no, one with a lighter touch. I witnessed a homicide. My next-door neighbor. The perp was her renter. He stabbed her and she couldn't be saved. 2 years later, to the day, his trial began. He was a product of the prison system from an early age, a system despicable in the way it mostly throws people away, and for profit, but that's another poem. As a witness, I was required to testify. The judge was a social friend. Yet apart from feeling sad for the defendant and memories of the 9/11 recording, which, like a masochist, I have saved, what stays with me most is when I realized, as I was sworn in and called the judge, this person who I partied with, Your Honor, that I was no longer Wendy. I was a witness, dissociated.
Wow. Yeah. I kind of have that same feeling at the end of that poem, this sort of need for a little distance because you bring us so close to that experience. Thanks, Wendy. Well, Carol has, unless she's changed her mind and I don't know about it, Carol's doing I call them 2 ocean poems. And they're very different from one another, and yet they seemed to me to be a pair somehow. Carol, let us hear the second one, please.
I wonder if it's because I live in the desert, the deserty part of Oregon, that I was so focused on ocean scenes lately. But this is my second one, and it's called The Sound of Yellow. I took sunrise walks on the beach, staying where the sand was firm, and never turning my back to the ocean. Cautious, safe, secure, me. The dark waves tumbled pure and white across the sand. The tides left treasures at my feet. The sky softly yellowed, pulling back the covers for the awakening sun. One day, I heard the music through the roar of the waves. It pulled so hard I could not but resist to follow it. I ran into the dark ocean. The firm sand was washed out from under my feet, and I fell. The undertow pulled me away even as the fresh waves crashed white over my skin. I could not go, even though I loved the darkness of the night sea and the warmth of the yellow sky, even though I heard the music above the roar of the waves. I pulled back from the tide's embrace, stood tall and struggled back through the shallows to the firm hold of the shore. We will never know, will we, what could have happened if I drowned in your love?
Oh, that's some power right there. Wow. Thank you, Carol. Whew. I'm gonna take a minute for everyone to rest with that thought while we move on. I mean, she had me at Sound of Yellow, right? What a great title. Really lovely. All right, I'm really excited to bring, I think I know which one you're doing next, Karen, and I just love this one. And I remember the prompt, you know, some of these were written out of class, some were written in class, and some of them were based on prompts and very spontaneous. And I think that's where we're going next, right? So I'm gonna bring you Karen Frank from St. Louis, Missouri.
Yes. Hold on. Technical issue. There we go. My poem is called Daddy. Speed, slick, slide, glide, swing, sit, ride, fly, windy, free, gleeful time, you, me, we, wee! Mini smile down the bumps, follow me, wee! You and me, we ski, we're free. Trust me, you'll see, just be with me.
That's so great. Woo! Great sound effect too.
Yeah, all right. Woo, Karen, thank you, thank you. Yeah, and I want to share this with everyone who's listening and watching us, and these wonderful poets. Read from their work that this our time together is mostly spent sharing, but we take a little time to write, and when we come back together, then again to begin sharing, there's always a mix of emotions, because many, as you can see, go very, very deep, and stay there for a while. So I think this community, this little poetry community, has gotten very skillful at sort of holding that space gently for each other. But we can still laugh sometimes too, often actually. So I want to bring back Joe Vancouverden. And if I'm not mistaken, this is a poem I believe Joe said he read for another occasion to many people, and there were quite a few tears. It's a very powerful and meaningful piece. I invite you to listen to very carefully. Joe,
Yep.
Take it away.
The title is A New Chair for Christmas. 'Twas the day before Christmas, and all was underway, with the UPS and FedEx trucks coming from every which way. The fundraising was a success, and the money had been sent. All I want is to get Brennan his new chair or be hell-bent. I had ordered by the deadline, and the product was shipped. The promise was made, I would have it in hand. So I waited all morn for a truck to land with the precious cargo so much in demand. But it came in 2 boxes, assembled with care, for the user might want to take it out on a tear. Need help, I cried, for I don't know how. So I called around, but was too late somehow. 'Twas Christmas Eve day, and all of them claimed that staff were exhausted and one even lame. Now all of the assembly was up to me, so I opened the boxes for instructions to see. With a sigh of relief, 'twas easy to be the assembler of this chair, even for me. Before noon could pass, I was near the end, to show Brennan the chair, now assembled to lend. While on his porch, he moved it around, only hoping to test it on ground. For Brennan, this chair will be more than just a place to sit and stare, for it has now opened a door through which he will push with the world to explore and regain his mobility through the gift of the grit freedom chair. Pushing with his arms as once his legs could bear, Brennan is now empowered to go anywhere.
Oh yeah, that's just so great. And it's a true story, and it's thanks to so much of your hard work for raising funds and helping to get that gift out there for Christmas. Really wonderful story. I can see why. I mean, I don't think it's a tearjerker. I think it's a like, yes, big success. So thank you. Yeah, that was beautiful. Wow. And it feels kind of Christmassy here in Colorado right now, to be honest with you, because we got some snow. So timely too. I am again going to introduce Jan to you. And again, for those of you who missed round one, we're missing Jan because she is, she is at an Ash Wednesday event. So Mel, take it away.
COVID, sly speck. COVID, you sly speck. Beat my borders, moved in on this healthy host and took control. 14 days to go. Fever, headache, blue mood, all reminders of this uninvited guest. These symptoms, such pest, can only rest, rest, rest. 10 days to go. Got defensive, armed my soldiers with C, D, and zinc. Sent the fluids flowing between trips to the loo and flooded out the foe. 5 days to go. The specs now booted out. My body must renew. Immunity army rearmed. Comfort food the ammo. 1 day to go. I see the end of the tunnel. It's really over, praise God. The body, a miracle creation. Failing and rising. 2021, here I am.
Just in case you had any doubt, here I am. Yeah, that's a powerful statement of being present, of being presence, if you will, with a full voice, which many of you, of course, know that one of the physical symptoms of Parkinson's is often related to losing one's voice or having one's voice diminished. And the other thing about poetry that's so wonderful is it can bring back one's voice, heighten one's voice, expand one's voice in at least a metaphorical way, which is equally as powerful. Well, Joe O'Connor is up next as our last poet in round two. Joe, I think the hat suits you, and we must be brothers of different mothers. Here we are. Joe, take it away.
Thank you, Wayne. This poem is called Once. Once, run Mount Washington Auto Road. Once, run 26 marathons. Once, raise bikes. Once, rock climb. Now, struggle to walk a mile. Now, stiff legs say no more. No more. There was a thief involved. Where did he come from? No one knows. There are many clues, but no answers. More importantly, what will he take? Or when? When? This thief comes when he wants. Surely leaves his mark. Sometimes take away, sometimes makes it hard to reach. No, impossible. Cannot beat this thief, he will always take. Never give back. What thief does? There is no battle, there is only the fight.
All right, Joe, thank you very much. Thank you so much. I have a poem myself about, I'm not going to read it tonight, but this poem you just read, Joe, reminded me of a poem I wrote once called Mugging. And I used being mugged as a metaphor for having Parkinson's, because sometimes that's how it feels. Like you've been mugged and left there on the sidewalk. I shared it once, and several people afterwards came up and asked if I called the police. And of course, all I could say was, I think you'd missed the point, but I was kind and did not say that. I just want to say thanks again to all the poets for sharing their poems. I did ask each poet to think a little bit about what exactly metaphor medicine, making and sharing poems, means to them in terms of living better with Parkinson's, or just living better in general. So now would be the time to share those couple of sentences with our audience. Anybody want to volunteer? Joe O'Connor?
Billy Wayne, first I want to say the best thing about this is meeting you and meeting the rest of the poets. I mean, it's just been an incredible experience, and I'm very, very grateful for it. The second thing is, it has helped me to put words to things that are happening that are not so good. But it has helped me to see them in a different light. And I think that has been a blessing in real truth.
Great. Thanks, Joe. Thank you very much. Amy?
Sharing poetry is going to be good for me, but not sharing my words, certainly. But whenever I have a expression of art or dance or poetry, and someone finds connection in it, or finds that I have given them words or a movement to express their feelings, for me, that's why I'm an ambassador. That's why I'm in this Parkinson's business. I'm pretty sure that's why I was called here. And it is very meaningful to me when I can speak words that bring comfort or at least connection for someone else.
Great. Thanks, Amy. Comfort and connection. Yeah, those are pretty important pieces. You bet. Thanks. All right. Karen?
I just wrote it, so I'm gonna read what I wrote earlier.
Okay.
I find that writing poems and sharing them with the group helps me to process some of my deeper feelings around Parkinson's and life in general. My father also lived with young onset Parkinson's, and he died 9 years before I was diagnosed. I find myself connected with him through my poems, often writing about sentimental thoughts and feelings of him. I wish he were here to give me advice, and he does. Through my poems, I hear his voice and feel his presence.
Thanks, Karen. Yes, indeedy. Skiing together, I think, was something you did together. Yeah. Carol, did I see you?
One last thing. He had Parkinson's for 22 years, and he skied for like 16 years of that. And he used to call his levodopa his go fast pills.
Yeah.
It was great.
Love it. Yeah. Thanks, Karen. Carol?
I find myself not one to speak out much in groups, but I share more on a one-to-one basis. And I've had a lot of adventures in my life, and most of those adventures depended on movement. After I came to understand about the medicine that this poetry gives to me, the movement of words has become something that I'm relying on much more now than the movement of my body.
Beautiful. Thank you, Carol. Well said. Right on. Anyone else? Wendy?
Yes, I've often been accused of talking like a Mobius strip, and very sort of disconnected and rambling. And yet there's so much to say and so much to hear. And being in this group, I have a chance to say things in a non-Mobius strip way, more clipped, and yet hear these lyrical songs that everybody brings to me that reminds me that rambling and thinking and being spontaneous is not a Mobius strip. It's a river. So
Beautiful.
thank you, everybody.
Beautiful. Yeah, I think it isn't just about being able to be heard. It's also about being able to hear. And that really is an essential part of making, of metaphor medicine and poems, for sure. Joe?
Yeah, I think it's like learning a whole new language. And because you got to speak from your heart and you want to listen with your heart as well. And I think the listening has been more interesting for me than the speaking, to hear the different ways of communicating and the different words used and the expressions. And that's really been interesting from my
Great.
perspective.
Great. Thank you, Joe. Right. This is a group, to be clear, this is a group of Davis Phinney Foundation ambassadors. So we all began with that kind of in common as well. Thanks for those reflections, y'all, very much. And I want to call on Connie, who's been writing along with us and sharing along with us, to share a poem, one of the poems that she wrote in one of our workshops. And then I'll close with with a couple of announcements. Connie, please.
All right, this one is coming to you by popular demand. And I think you guys think this was written for caregivers, which I am one, but I think it was written for all of you. And it's called Birds. I walk, head up, feet light, springy under summer heat. Silently above the earth, I stop, admiring that solo bird, flitting freely, sweetly, oh, so sweetly, free. That's for you guys.
Thanks, Connie. Thank you so very much. Joe and Karen and Amy and Carol and Wendy and Connie and Jan, I thank and salute each of you for being vulnerable in this way and sharing your experience and your feelings and your metaphors in this way with so many others. I also want to thank Mel Dizon for doing so much work behind the scenes and supporting us in so many ways. And Lee as well, and the Davis Phinney Foundation in general for being such an educational, such a great advocate for those of us with Parkinson's and our care partners. We're most appreciative. If you want any more information or you want to contact any of us, you can do so through the Davis Phinney Foundation website. And you should do that. You should take a look at the website if you never have, because there is an incredible amount of wonderful materials, resources, experiences, inspirations on that website. I urge you to do so. I also want to give a shout out to Carol Klepne, whose book of some of her adventures is available. It's called The Ribbon of Road Ahead. And you can contact her again through the Davis Phinney Foundation if you'd like, the website.
Yeah, and we also just real quick, we also just did a story on Carol. She talked about how she turned her book into an audiobook. Really interesting. So check our website for that.
Thank you. Thank you. I also want to thank the Institute for Poetic Medicine, who have been very supportive of this project, again, behind the scenes by providing me with a small grant in order to support this work. So I thank John Fox, the executive director, and the Institute for Poetic Medicine for that. And of course, the audience, you're awesome. Thank you so much for being here. We had a ball, and we look forward to cafe number 2 one of these days, sooner than later, we hope. In the meantime, make yourself some poems and share them. Hope to see you all again. Good night.
Bye.
Good night.